that don't have electricity. Africa has been able to leapfrog in telecoms. You know, we moved from the 090 analog systems, from landlines that were less than 400,000 in Nigeria, to today we have 120 million mobile subscribers in Nigeria. That's a leapfrog. Now, how can we do that in the solar energy business? We have been able to find that there's also a way we can do that using technology. The magic in the ICT sector was the pay-as-you-go, billing system. And we've been able to find people who have the technology that can be equally leveraged, for the solar energy business. And we're having discussions. We are on a 50-50 sharing basis, cost sharing basis with United Nations Development Program in Nigeria, and we have the access to renewable energy, which is, we call it ATRI. You can get more information on our website. What we're trying to do is to ensure that we can deploy, working with Nigerian companies, we can deploy this technology across the rural communities. And, it will just be an alternative to PHCN, alternative to the discos that we have today. Because we must find a way to quickly, get our poor masses to have access to electricity.
The CEO also speaks about the ongoing restructuring exercise in the organization.
Recently, we inducted 10 of our best customers into our Hall of Fame, again to encourage people who obtain loans and over time were able to repay the loans as and when due. At the same time, we also had a blacklist, people who, more or less, abandoned their accounts, misapplied the funds, and, defaulted in their loan payments. So these are some of the things, signals. We're signaling to the market that, we're very serious about supporting businesses, about supporting projects, but we're also very serious that if you do not pay us, you will not have peace of mind. So these are the kind of activities that we're also doing to ensure that the signal is received in the marketplace.
In order to be able to meet its funding obligations, the Bank of Industry is also reaching out to multilateral development institutions around the world.
AFDB has actually offered us $100 million. We have almost concluded the documentation to enable us, achieve disbursement. And what we're pushing for is that before the end of this year, that money should be disbursed to us. Now, that will be a step in the direction of ensuring that we get funding, from non-government sources. But in addition to that, we are also reaching out to a number of other multilateral development institutions. We've started talking to BNDES of Brazil. We are talking to Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. We are talking to FMO of Netherlands, and so on and so forth. And we believe that with proper packaging of our SME intervention, we should be able to get positive responses. But that is in the short term. In the long term, what we're planning is that we can actually do a bond issuance. Okay, so, once we've had, consistent performance in terms of, moderate profitability, moderate obligor rating as an entity, we can approach the market and say, hey, we need 5-year loan of 50 billion, 100 billion naira, and we should be able to raise the money. The Industrial Development Bank of South Africa, they have just raised 15 billion rands, which is about roughly $1.5 billion. There's no reason why BOI cannot be elevated to that status.
And since taking over in May this year, you've introduced a couple of initiatives and funds into the system. You've just signed a 13.6 billion pact with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development as intervention funds for rice and cassava milling in the country. You've also introduced the CAP Fund. Tell us more about these funds.
I mentioned earlier that the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan identified 4 sectors. From our internal assessment, the most impactful, most wide-ranging in terms of impact of the sectors is the agro-processing sector. Therefore, we are very actively engaged with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. So first, we work with them on the Cassava Bread Fund, under which about 35 companies, were supported, through a combination of loans and grants. And these companies have been able to establish high-quality cassava processing plants, and a number of master bakers were also supported, to be able to use the flour that comes out of the processing plant and use it to bake bread. That has been concluded successfully, and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Minister, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, is very pleased, with our performance. And that encouraged them to go into the next step, which is the recent 13.6 billion naira MOU that we signed with them about 2 weeks ago, to finance 10 medium-sized rice mill, each one capacity of 36,000 metric tons of paddy, and 6 high-quality cassava mills, each one capacity of 18,000 metric tons. The whole idea is we want to fast-track the establishment of these mills in the next few months, such that the cassava that is coming out of the agricultural transformation agenda of Mr. President can get processed, because we don't want to have a situation where we have post-harvest losses. We don't want the cassava to become what they call stick in the ground. So we want all these initiatives to be all related and comprehensive, so that we can actually reduce, the ultimate objective is to reduce food imports. 2 of our institutes in this country have developed technologies that can be used for agro-processing. And interestingly, some of the technologies have been adopted by businesses, and they're actually running very profitably, and they're getting bigger and bigger. One of them is FIRO. FIRO is the Federal Institute of Industrial Research in Oshodi. The second one is Project Development Institute, a place where I went last week. These 2 institutes, they've developed incredible technologies that Nigerians all need to do is just approach them, and they can get you the equipment you require for cassava, for this, for that. So I think Nigerians, we need to appreciate what we have.
Coming up on BOI Weekly, the CEO speaks to young entrepreneurs trying to access funds, urging them to answer key questions of every business startup.
What are you trying to sell? Who are you going to sell to? What is the target market? What is your value proposition? In other words, what is it about your product or service that will make people patronize you? Because there are so many businesses around. So why should they come to you?
In the agricultural sector, due to limited processing and preservation capacity. This results in high food prices and food importation, with its attendant effects on the nation's foreign reserves. To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes, and others, the Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plans to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.